Evening, people. Hope you're well. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the show. We're going to do a bit of a roundup today on today's news, and I thought I'd bring a couple of different people on. Dan, mate, how long has it been, bro?
It's been too long, mate. I'm still getting over the I'm still getting over the season, mate. Still getting over the fact that Lawless's boys won the Conference League, and B, they stayed in the fucking Prem. So it's just about getting over it now, though. I tell you
You
what,
wouldn't
though,
know it. You wouldn't know it after speaking to him, mate.
mate. I'm just seeing Havertz in an Arsenal shirt here, mate. This is weird to see. This is really
Yeah, I
weird.
know, man. I know it's mad. I've gone live while Arsenal are playing their first pre-season. Everyone's going to kill me for it, mate. I can't even lie. But I watched the first half, but I couldn't do anything else today. Timing-wise, just isn't on my side, so I had to do now. So I'm going to catch up with the second half afterwards. Yeah, for those that don't know, 1-0 Arsenal. Saka scored. Erdegaard injured in the warm-up. Hopefully it's not too serious. Fabio Vieira's had to come on. Gabriel taking the captain's armband. And Havertz, you're saying Dan is now coming on. Is that right?
Yeah, he's just coming on now. Just coming on
Ooh,
now.
that'll be interesting to
Oh,
see.
here we go, mate. You got Hayne, the keeper,
Oh,
Cedric,
Cole Hine,
Jesus,
yeah, Cedric. Oh, good. Cedric's
Jorginho,
coming on. That's good. Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be
and
good.
Tierney, mate. There you go.
There we go. Look at that. Get live commentary from Dan as well while we're at it.
What we do, mate. What we do.
As well as yourself, I've got LB with me. What you telling me, Lewis? You good?
Always good, mate. Always good. Yeah, life is good,
Cool.
mate.
Yeah, it must be, man. I can't lie. You must be like pretty chilled with this transfer window, even though there's not a lot happening as such from your team. You've got a couple of interesting statistics for you guys at the moment, but it's quite calm being a Man City fan. We've won the treble. Do you know what I mean? I can't say that I would not want to swap places with you. Listen, we're going to get serious just for the first few minutes of this stream because today the news broke that Dele Alli and Gary Neville gave their interview, which was talking about the life of Dele Alli, but more importantly, perhaps the reasons as to why his form has dipped. I don't know how much of it you have seen or haven't seen. I watched the whole thing on the way to work and on the way home from work today. And I have to say, taking my football team away from me, this one was a difficult watch. I always believed Dele Alli was a talent. I never put him in the hypes of Gaza, Gerrard, Lampard, like some of the players did and fans did. I saw him as a good footballer. If I was to compare him to an English player, I'd probably put him into the bracket down from that. I'd probably put him in. I never saw him as a world-class player. I never saw him as an overhyped player. But I did see him as like a Danny Murphy, Joey Barton, or one of those kind of level players. I never saw him as this top, wow, amazing. But some people did. Some people thought he was going to be the next Steven Gerrard or Frank Lampard. And his form just fell off a cliff. And I had to say at the time, I regret saying what I said because I said, told you, he's not that good. But after hearing his story, I think it has made me realize and made everybody realize you have no idea what some of these players, one, have been through, and two, what the pressure is that they're going through at the time. And I thought it was a fascinating interview. I thought the way that he opened up to, and big up Gary Neville, by the way, as well. Absolutely superb. The way he made him feel comfortable, the way he was with him, alongside him, supporting him. Obviously worked with him in England. And I think when you hear the story, you realize, wow, that would have been difficult for anybody to get through life. Going through the therapy that he has now, coming out of it the other end, I truly hope that he can revive his career after listening to that because he deserves it. What he's gone through is absolutely horrendous that nobody human should go through, whether you're a professional footballer or a human being. There's no way that anybody should be dealing with some of the stuff that he's dealt with growing up and also some of the feelings he's been having that he's clearly hid. Now, I know, Dan, you work within mental health, and likewise, I have done before. And I think everybody that I know, including family, friends, and people close to me, have gone through their own demons. But actually, when you look at what sports professionals go through and they're hiding it, particularly men, it proves to me that you have absolutely zero idea of what the hell people are going through every day. Whether they're smiling, laughing, and joking, you have no idea if that's just a front. And I think that big up, a lot of praise, deservedly. All plaudits go to both Gary Neville for allowing that platform on the overlap at Sky, but also for Dele Alli himself to come out and speak about his problems and try to help others that are potentially going through that as well. I thought it was fascinating. Dan, I don't know if you saw the interview. I just wanted to get your thoughts on it, really, mate.
Yeah, no, I did. I caught it. Wow. Look, this is something, as you said, I work in mental health. You've worked in mental health. This is going on a lot more with men than people realise. This isn't the first time I've heard a story like this. Sadly, it won't be the last. I think what this does, though, is it does raise awareness in the sense of it shows that you can have the world at your feet. And he he's still so young, really. The world is still there. If he gets back in form, who knows what happens? But you can have the world at your feet, and it doesn't matter how good things are. It's what happens up here. And if you can't escape what's up here, you're screwed. You really are. Being a footballer takes enough mental strength as it is. I know, obviously, people like to do the old adage of they're on a lot of money. They're living the dream, so they should be fine. It's not that. To be a footballer, you are under a microscope for your entire playing career. People like to build footballers up, and they love to bring them down. The press have done this with Dele Alli on several occasions, not just through footballing ability, but what he does outside of the game. So I think it's a massive plus for him that he feels now's the time for him to come out and explain exactly how he's feeling. The stuff he went through, sexually assaulted when he was 6. I don't know if you saw the part. He was sent to Africa to learn discipline. He was hung off a bridge. He was taking drugs around when he was 8 years old. That is terrifying. I just hope, obviously, this doesn't go the other way for him, because football fans on the whole are fantastic, but it doesn't stop some cruel people out there. We've heard football chants at stadiums, all across the country. Hillsborough, the Munich disaster, stuff like that. It doesn't stop people from chanting horrible things. I just hope to God that people don't utilize this against him. I would like to hope that the people around him will be there to support him now. I think Everton, from what I hear and what you read between the lines, have been very supportive of this. They could have just cut their losses. They seem to have stuck by him. So it's a long journey ahead for Dele, and from my part, from experiencing it myself in some aspects, this isn't the end of the journey. This is just the start now for him. This is the beginning of another journey, and it's really up to the people around him, his family, his friends, to make sure that they support him whatever comes next. But it's big up to him. It is, and also Gary Neville for giving him the chance to talk. And I thought Gary Neville come across extremely well. Allowed him to explain what had happened, didn't really butt in. So yeah, all in all, I think it's hopefully a positive for Dele. But as I said, there's a lot of negative people in football that will try and bring someone down. But let's hope it doesn't happen that way.
Yeah, man, I think people will definitely get behind what's been said today. You'll always get the one or two idiots, of course, but they're the people that don't really belong in the game as far as I'm concerned. The people that matter are all going to get behind him. I do think personally there's going to be an opportunity for a lot of footballers to come out and support it, but also to kind of join in what Dele Alli has done. And I think with Gary Neville, fair play to him, man. He was fantastic. LB, I don't know how much of it you saw, but I think what Dan has said there is spot on. What do you think the reaction from this will be, mate?
Yeah, hopefully positive, mate. You know what I mean? If you have any faith in the human race, then we have to be positive. Otherwise, we all might as well fucking give up now, innit? You know what I'm saying? But yeah, this is just. It seems to me that this is unfortunately sort of typical of what happens to men when they're going through these issues, in that they let it build up and build up and build up, and then they almost, something happens, and then obviously this is what's happened for Dele Alli. He's come out and let it all out in this interview, and that is typical of what happens with men. You know what I mean? Men don't talk to each other about shit that's going on behind the scenes. Suicide's the biggest killer in men under age of 40, which is fucking crazy. So yeah, it's unfortunate. It's not really surprising if you think about it, because obviously the amount of men that go through this sort of stuff, and I know some of the stuff that's happened to him clearly is more like unique to, specific to him. But yeah, obviously, given that how much it does happen to men, it's not entirely surprising that a footballer was going to come out at some point and say they've been going through some really bad shit. And yeah, it sort of makes you understand as to why maybe that form dipped off. I mean, the guy said he wanted to retire, or questioned retiring at the age of 24. I mean, we all played football as kids. I mean, no one would ever think that anyone would think that. You want to be playing football. I mean, look at Ashley Young playing football when he's 38. You got Fernandinho still playing football when he's 38, 39 in Brazil. I mean, people play football until they physically can't play football anymore. So for a guy to say that, he considered retiring at 24, I think that for me is like, because we all love the game, and we all know how much like playing football is like mega, innit? It's what like all three of us here probably wanted to be footballers when we were growing up. So for him to say that he considered retiring at 24, I think that sort of gives you a little bit of an inkling as to how shit and how low he must have been feeling at that point. The only thing that can happen now is, of course, he needs to have the right people behind him, because if you look at like what's been going on the socials, he's probably not had the right people near him. So it's important that he's the club, employers, and people like Neville, who can get like the big dons of the game around him to sort of give him that sort of safety net and support and really boost him up, because he needs to be with the right people now. And I think football's a bit of a weird one, because of course, if he's still got some demons in his head, that's the thing that he needs to focus on. But if he can get back on the football pitch playing, that can only do him, good mentally. So, and I think I'm right in saying that everyone on this panel and everyone in the chat, that's what you want to see. You want to see Dele Alli playing football again at the highest level. So, first of all, it's about getting him sort of, clearing his mind as much as possible. It's not going to be completely clear, obviously, with everything that's gone on in his past, clearly, but clearing his mind, getting that secure network around him that he can call on for help if he needs to help or just to chat. And then, if possible, getting back into the game and getting back on the upward trajectory, because he's only still young. What is he, 27 or something like that?
Yeah,
so 27.
He's still got plenty of years in him. You know what I mean? No one needs to think that he's just wasted his career or that his career's over. That's not the case at all. There's still plenty of time for him to get back on it. And ultimately, when he was on his game, he was a good player. So I guess we all wish him the best. Hopefully that he can get feeling better. And then once he's got feeling better, hopefully he can get back on the pitch, because when he was playing well, he was a top player, man.
Listen, there's some positives from the interview. Sean Dyche has had a big sit down with him and a chat with him and discussed his future, made sure that he's mentally ready. He said to Gary Neville that he's totally ready and passionate and wants to get back on the pitch and fight and show what he can do. He understands that when he's at his top of his game, he's a good player. And I think that if there's anything good to come from this, it will be that he can continue his career and get back to the highest level possible. And at 27 years old, you've got 8 years until you hit your late 30s as a footballer. So it's not like he's only got a couple of years left in him. I do think that it might take him that couple of years to find his place still, because he's gone through a hell of a lot of trauma. But also, this sometimes is great for a little bit of a short term, but then long term, it can start to come back and creep in if you're not around the right people. And I believe what you've both said, and particularly what you said, LB, about being around the right people, I think that will happen now. Now that it's come out and you get the right sort of people behind it, I think Gary Neville is a great start. And I do think there's others that can support what Dele Alli needs and what he could be. Mauricio Pochettino, there's rumours he's come out and said, I want to have a chat with him. I don't think that means he's going to go Chelsea, but it certainly means that he wants to reach out and talk to him. I think at Everton...
Like I sort of just quickly, Dan, like I just said a minute ago, it's more about the football. I know he's probably eager to get back into the football, but I think it's more about, like you just went on to say then, it's more about getting that net around him, get
Absolutely.
people talking to him, so he knows that he can speak to people if he needs to. And then once he's got his sort of head a bit clearer, then get back into the game. Because what you don't want to do, I don't know, I'm not an expert. I just say, do you want to get back into the game straight away after this? I don't know. I'm not an expert. So I would think that the main thing for me would be to get your head clear, get that network, and then get back in. Like I say, there's no rush in my view. But like
there's
got
to be an element of protecting him, hasn't there, LB, as well? There's got to be an element of not just chucking him straight back in and expecting levels from him again. I think, and actually, I think Sean Dyche is probably one of the better managers to have on your side with that, because he's done a lot outside of football with mental health. He's and I think having that strong bond that he likes to build with his players, Dyche, I think he's probably in the best hands for that. And as I said before as well about not rushing him back, this has got to be a journey that he has to take at his own pace. You cannot rush him back in front of 50, 60,000 fans. You've got to make sure he is ready, because the last thing we want to see is this all be for nothing. Do you know what I mean? Him to just slide even further down. And I think one thing I will say about the interview and about Dele Alli is I think he's fortunate that we are where we are now. 30 years ago, this wouldn't happen. This never happened. Footballers, they struggled, they suffered. And so many of them, sadly ended up taking their lives or taking a turn for the worse. And so fortunately, we're in a time now where mental health is there to help.
What I'd say as well, Dan, is I think this just reinforces. I mean, I've always known this, especially watching City's academy and sort of being in that sort of area. But football's a brutal fucking game, you know.
Horrendous.
And I know everyone goes on about how much money they get
Yeah.
paid, and
Yeah.
oh, you know what I mean, they're all fucking living the high life, and you know all this kind of bullshit. But you're in the public eye 24/7. I mean, look at Jack Grealish, for example. The media follows him around 24/7 every day of the week with a camera putting it in his face. He can't go for a drink. He has a beer. Oh, Jack Grealish is on the lash again. I know he's been on the lash recently. That's because we've done a treble. But if he goes out on a Saturday and has a pint, oh, Jack Grealish is on the, you know, they do have it difficult. And football's a brutal game. You look at the academy players who go through the academy for 10 years and then get to 16, 17 and just get dropped.
Yeah.
And their whole dreams as young people, children, really, you know what I mean? Some would say if they're under 18, just cast aside and you know, it don't get any easier when you're a bit older. So, you know, I think that's just something that everyone just needs to always kind of take into the head sometimes, that, they do get paid a lot of money and they do get well rewarded, but they do get a lot of shit. You know what I mean? They do get a lot of shit.
They do. And I think we forget that, LB. There's a lot of people that do think, oh, it's an absolutely amazing lifestyle. Look at the money you get. Look at that. But actually, there's a lot of stuff that comes in it mentally as well, particularly when it comes to the age of not playing football anymore. What must that do to you? That's been your drug. That's been your life for the best part of your life. And now it's dropped. You know, some people can deal with it. They go into the media, they go into coaching, they stick to football. But not being able to get on the pitch, that must be absolutely hell. You know what I mean? So there's that side of it as well as what he's gone through. So I thought it was a really interesting interview. I thought it was one that I looked at and thought, you know what, I want to mention it tonight because I thought it was important.
Do you know what else as well? I just wanted to quickly touch on that. He mentions that I think needs so much respect put into to them is the foster family situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
People forget just how much good work these foster families do for children that have come from backgrounds like Dele Alli. Fantastic that he, you know, obviously come out there and said the stability that I had afterwards. And there's so many foster families out there that do so much hard work, not just with one child, you know, they do it with 3 or 4. A child will obviously, you know, leave home and move on to their next stage, and they take other children on. So this is a massive insight into what actually does happen with children out there that don't have the right upbringing, the right start to life that they should. So I thought it was great that was mentioned there.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, it comes to it for me. Just be nice, man. Just be nice to people. Why do we always have to have so much negativity, toxicity thrown around all the time, man? No matter what it is, it's mad to me. But I thought we'd speak about it. Rich in the chat has asked, do you think he'll stay at Everton? Big up Billy, by the way, man. Thanks for joining us, bruv. Talking
Pleasure,
about
mate.
Dele Alli. Think Dele Alli's got a future at Everton, or do you think he needs to take his time and go somewhere else, find his feet, or do you think that Sean Dyche would be good for him and he'll get a chance?
I'm not too sure, really, to be honest with you. I think Everton at the minute is probably the best place for him because of Sean Dyche and how helpful he's been previously to other players. I can't remember. I saw a video earlier of someone saying that Sean Dyche really sat down and helped him kind of get out of the struggles that he was facing at the time. And he just seems like a sound bloke anyway, doesn't he, to be fair, Sean Dyche? So I think Everton having that support structure around him is probably the best place for him at the minute. Whether he starts playing football and his talents then take him on to elsewhere. I mean, hopefully, for his sake more than anything, he can get back to the player that he used to be. And then, in that instance, he may then decide to move on to bigger and better things again. But yeah, I think Everton, where Everton are as well as a club, you know, it's an opportunity for Dele Alli to kind of come back this redemption arc and become a top player again and be the star in that Everton team, if you know what I mean.
Listen, I do think it's the right place for him, and I think it would be good for him to actually try and find his feet, stay a little bit settled. Apparently the score is now 1-1. A mistake from Carl Hine.
I didn't want to put a
Arsenal
smile on my face because Billy was talking, you know, complete facts there.
Yeah.
It was just
You didn't want to start going, Was it a bad mistake from Carl Hine, was it?
Yeah, underhit pass. It's just gone straight past him. Jesus Christ.
Okay, fair play. 1-1 it is, Nuremberg Arsenal. I literally could not put this stream at any other time, people, tonight. I'm absolutely back to back. So a lot of people in the chat were going, what the hell are you doing a stream for now? Arsenal playing in pre-season. Yep, they are. But it is pre-season and it is 1-1. So it's calm. I watched the first half. I think there's about 25 minutes left, Dan, something like that.
Yeah, just under half hour. Actually,
yeah. There we go. Listen,
they said I could be anything in life, and I turned out to be an Arsenal reporter. Brilliant.
Arsenal commentator, mate. Yeah, no, listen, they're losing commentators, mate. Martin Tyler's gone. Like using immediate Jeff Shreves has gone. Maybe you can get a job, one day. Keep it going, mate. Listen, let's talk about this Saudi Arabia stuff because yet again in 2 days, Mitrovic has been linked. Jordan Henderson and Fabinho have now both been linked today. LB, this is getting a bit mental now. I did not expect this. When it first came out, I thought this would be like China. Graziano Pella and Oscar will go, and that'll be about it. And they'll go get a nice like. Wow, it's not. There's so many players going over there, mate. And I do feel this is just the start of something that could potentially blow up even more. Yeah. In my opinion, Saudi Arabia will find a way to get themselves into the Champions League, and they will find a way to get themselves into one of the top leagues in the world. So where do you stand with this one, man? And are you quite shocked that players of that kind of ilk are going over there?
Not called it, mate. I think when you realise how much money Saudi Arabia have, you don't write anything off, mate. You look at some of the plans that they've got for their country in terms of infrastructure and all that kind of shit. These guys are minted. So if they want a league and they want to do it properly, they will get a league and they will do it properly. Ronaldo said it's going to take 5 years to get a decent league, and I agree. I think that's the sort of time frame. Don't think it's going to be overnight. I think 5 years is sort of a realistic time frame, and I agree. I think they will try and get themselves into the Champions League somehow, whether to buy their way in, I don't know. But not surprising at all. I mean, I've got no problems with. Right at the moment, I've got no problems with players who are coming to the end of their career or just aren't that good or not top players going over because, you know what I mean? Like, you look at someone like Ruben Neves, for example, good player, but he's never going to win anything at Wolves. So, like, I think he's like 28, 28, 20, 27, 28. Yeah, I could fully understand him going over. I think where I'd get a little bit like, oh, do you really want to go? Is if, like, you're a top player. So, for example, if Bernardo Silva went over then, I'd be like, come on, mate, you're 28. You're playing for a treble-winning team. It's a bit early. But yeah, Mitrovic, why wouldn't he go over there? He's played for Fulham. You know, Fulham have just got the record season in the Premier League for Fulham ever, the most points ever. Like, it's going to be hard to beat that. Is he ever going to get a move to a team that's going to win the Prem or win the Champions League? No. So why wouldn't he go over there? It's stupid not to. So I don't have a problem with it. I've not had a problem with that at all. I've seen loads of people having a go. I've seen people saying they should ban transfers to Saudi Arabia. I give you head a wobble. I mean, it's only what England have been doing for the last 30 years, you know, buying all the best players from all around the world. What's the problem with Saudi Arabia doing it, man? I would have a problem with it, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think it's about me having a problem with it. I think I'm more shocked, Billy, that the fact that I actually disagree with LB. I think Mitrovic and Neves are at their kind of game at that age where I think they could get moves to clubs that could be recognised in European Champions League clubs or stuff like that. Now, I'm not saying they're going to go and play for Man City and win leagues and Premier Leagues like that. But for me, I'm just shocked that perhaps maybe I'm too naive to the fact that footballers would rather go and win a cup over in Saudi Arabia and get paid a lot of money than go and try and compete at the top level in England. Maybe it's because I'm a bit patriotic. Maybe I'm the Muppet because I'd stay in England. Maybe that's why I wouldn't have 200 grand every second to kick a ball. But I just am surprised that the likes of those two in particular would go over there. I saw yesterday that Milinkovic-Savic has gone over to Saudi Arabia when he was linked with European Champions League football. So he's chosen Saudi Arabia over Champions League clubs. I don't know. It doesn't sit right with me, man. I don't know why it doesn't. I can't even tell you why it don't. I just think it's I'm just a bit old school, and I like to believe that European football and Champions League football and the English Premier League is the best in the world. And if we're going to start seeing players of that ilk going over there, then it's just somebody else at the party. I don't know what your thoughts are, Bill.
I kind of see it from both sides, to be honest with you. I agree with you, Dan. I think the Champions League, the Premier League, I think I think a lot of players will agree as well. For some people, it will be too big to to kind of give up. On the other hand, you've got the players that are more bothered about money. There are players out there that are more bothered about money and that they do football as a job. They're not necessarily fussed about football. They just so happen to have this talent and the drive and determination to be good at something that they're not overly fussed about. I mean, was it Asua Koto? Was it the Spurs player?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that just wanted the money back then. There's going to be more players out there like that. But I would like to feel that there are also more players that care about the football. And by that, I mean, they want to achieve big things within the game, within Europe, with the history of the Champions League, the Premier League, and that kind of thing. And that's why I don't necessarily think you'll start to see the big players kind of going over. I don't think you'll see Mbappe go over there, for example. Not at this stage of his career. Maybe 10, 15 years down the line, maybe so. But I don't think at this stage of his career, when he's got the likes of Real Madrid coming for him, he's going to go, "Now I'm gonna go to Saudi instead." I don't think you're going to see Haaland going over there. I don't think there's any danger of the big players like that going over to Saudi, and then all of a sudden we're over here in Europe. We're going, well, what about us, kind of thing. I don't think that's going to happen at all.
Depends how good they are, though, doesn't it, Billy? Though, because like I agree with you in the sense that Haaland and Mbappe are not going to go over there. But then let's take Ruben Neves for example. Ruben Neves is not good enough, in my view, to play for a Champions League football team in England. But otherwise, he would have got the move a year ago, the year before. Like he's been at Wolves now. What, a couple of years? He's been there a fair few years now. So if he was good enough to play for a Champions League team, he would have moved. So you look at Ruben Neves and go, what do you want to do for the next 3 years? Do you want to play for Wolves, where you'll just be finishing between, like, I don't know, like 10th and 14th every year? You know, you have some good games, but ultimately that's really your aim. And that's not a dig at Wolves. That's just because of the league and that's where they're at. Or do you want to go to Saudi Arabia and like earn quadruple or 5 or 6 times the amount of money? Like once you've played in the Premier League and you've done it, but you don't really have that, you don't have that quality to play at the very top. I mean, I struggle, you know, I'm English, you know, we're English. Like maybe we have like a bit more of like a desire to play in the Prem, but the guy's Portuguese, Spanish. Like, why does he care about playing in the Prem for Wolves for like 3 more years, doing the same thing every year? Like, I just think it's logical that he's going to take the cash, in my view.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. To be honest,
that is what's happened.
The only thing that I would say with that is, I think he had teams like Barcelona who are so big, prestigious, historic, interested in him, and maybe them in the financial situation that they're in couldn't pay enough as to what Wolves wanted, that kind of thing, and that's why he's ultimately gone, well, Barcelona's no longer an option. I might as well go to Saudi, and then we're in the situation that you just mentioned. My gripe about it would probably be if you've got clubs like a Barcelona that are interested in you. I know me personally, I would much rather go and play for one of the biggest clubs on the planet than go to Saudi. I've got enough money anyway. I've been playing Premier League football for God knows how long. I'm going to go to Barcelona earning ridiculous money, you know. But at the same time, I also understand the 6-7 times your wage argument as well.
To be fair, Billy, to be fair, Billy, I think Barcelona playing for Barcelona at the moment is like playing on a Sunday morning. You have to pay subs to play for them. They haven't got any money, have they? Christ almighty.
That is very true. That is very true.
Listen,
and you don't have the new camp either, do you? I mean,
well, I think Chelsea and Liverpool.
Laugh at Youssef. Sorry, Fox. Got to laugh at Youssef.
Go on, Youssef, what's he saying?
We're giving Saudis Hendo and Fab, and if we get at least 50 million of them, we could go in for Caicedo or Chimini. Come on, Youssef. Come on, mate. Come on. There is no chance. There is no chance of that happening, son.
Well, Liverpool and Chelsea are just gutting their midfield at the moment. I mean, I've never known anything like it. Like Chelsea actually on their books at the moment have Enzo Fernandez and Conor Gallagher. That's it. They ain't got any other midfielders at the moment, I don't think, unless they've signed one without me knowing. So it looks like they're going to have to go and buy 4 midfielders as well as like 2 centre forward.
Carney
They're going to go
Chukwuemeka
mad.
they've got.
Oh,
Yeah, but does Chukwuemeka play in like centre midfield, or is he more of a winger? I thought
He's more of a number 8. So yeah,
right. So yeah, he can play in both sort of.
But even so, he's not a Premier League starting.
Nah,
a Chelsea Premier League starting midfielder. Let's put it that way.
No, I like him a lot, but he's one for the future, not one for right now. And Conor Gallagher doesn't really done it in a Chelsea shirt, has he? So yeah, mad. They're going to go mental, aren't they, Chelsea? It really. I spoke to Goonie the other night, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm expecting to go in for all of them," and I'm like, "Jesus, let's see what happens, man." Let's move on to what our clubs are doing. Dan, United. I don't know what your thoughts are, mate, but I'd be a little worried, bro. I don't know what the hell's going on. There's still Mount is the only one. Still no centre forward.
How can you get worried, Scott? It happens every year. It happens every year, brother.
Yeah, but
there's just no.
Isn't it just up in the air, Dan? Like what's happening with the ownership? What's happening with the players coming in? You got a number 9 that you're desperate for, and all of them look like they're going to be under par and underwhelming when you get them in. Like Rasmus Højlund, who I'm sure might be a good player in a few years, but isn't going to put you into a title race. You still need a right winger, in my opinion, because you've got Sancho and Anthony that are still doing kick-ups with each other, but can't do it on the pitch. You've got a midfield now, which I think is probably just about right, but I still feel you need one more next to Casemiro. If Mount's going to be one of those guys, I don't see him personally as the guy to slot next to Casemiro with Bruno. I just don't see that signing's going to be wow. I think it's a good player for a squad rotation, but I don't see that. And I still think you're one injury away from Maguire coming back into the side. So, and no goalkeeper because obviously De Gea's gone. So what the hell's going on, bro? Talk to me, man. Man United is all over the place.
Mate, honestly, Ten Hag, did an amazing job last season, and I think they're just praying that he does it again this season. We're a mess. We are an absolute mess at the moment. The fact of the matter is we've got players that we're trying to offload that we should be able to offload. You look at how Chelsea have got rid of all these players. It's an embarrassment. The goalkeeper situation, if Onana doesn't come off, which apparently news coming in, it's close, but it's been close last week. If that doesn't come off, we're a laughing stock with that because I wasn't De Gea's biggest fan, but you need a strong number 1 to start the season. With regards to the striker situation, why the hell did we not go for a striker first? Why are we now going into August now starting to negotiate with Rasmus Højlund, who, by the way, Laurie Whitwell of The Athletic said today 85 million. Not a chance. Not a chance. We are not paying £85 million for a striker who got 9 goals last season. I like to think the days of us overpaying for stuff like that are gone. It's a mess. It's a mess. I think the Glazers are doing what the Glazers do best. They're trying to drag out as long as possible. And it wouldn't surprise me if we sell this club on the 1st of September, when the transfer window's done, when we've got no signings in there. Onana, Mount and Højlund, that isn't a very good transfer window. Good players, great players, potentially quality, but it's not a good transfer window, especially when you see what City did. City went out, and I stand by this. One of the signings of the season, this will be Kovacic in that midfield. Unreal player. Unreal. 25 million LB in the end?
25, yeah.
That's a steal, especially when you think that the Saudis are going to pay 20 million, between 10 and 20 million for Hendo. That's an absolute steal. Players wise, look, he's got a tune out of a few of them. I completely agree with what you're saying there, Potts. We are 2 or 3 injuries away from being in dire straits again next season. We're going to, by the looks of it, be relying on Højlund and Martial as our strikers. You cannot play Rashford as a striker. He is so much more effective coming in off that left. So it's a mess. It is a mess. It's quite interesting to see that Ten Hag hasn't really come out and said much about it, as quick as I'd like to have him to. I would love to have heard him come out and say, this is unacceptable. We've got 9 players at least on that team that need to go. They tried to talk about FFP. That's a bunch of bullshit, that is, because if you get rid of the players that we need to get rid of, then we would be absolutely fine. It's a mess. It's not going to get any better any sooner for Manchester United fans. Last season on this show, I sat there with chest out and said 4th position. If it stays like this, even if we get Onana and if we get Højlund, United will finish 6th this season. 100%. 100%.
Oh. Yeah.
At the end of the day, we've come off a really good season in finishing 3rd. It was great. We won the Carabao Cup. We got to the FA Cup final. But City straight away went out and bought Kovacic. They're looking at bringing in Garvadal. Is it Garvadal? at centre back.
Oh yeah,
Guardiola, yeah.
Yeah. Arsenal went out there. They're getting Timber. They're getting Rice. They've got Havertz. Whether or not that works or not remains to be seen. Villa are bringing in players. Newcastle are looking at players. Liverpool went out and bought McAllister and brought that other chap that I know that's Newcastle.
Yeah,
that's him. Chelsea, as you said, are going to do an absolute madness and sign loads of players. You're meant to buy when you're at your best, and we're not even at our best yet, and we're still not buying. It's classic behaviour for every new manager who comes in at Manchester United. Their first summer transfer window, they get everything they want. The second one, that is when the restraints come in, and it's, well, we haven't got the money to really compete with that at the moment. It's bollocks. It's bollocks.
Mate, it's a worry for me if I was a United fan. I'll say this, and I'll come to you with it, LB, as your City fan. Obviously, you don't care, but I do look at that, and I think Manchester United should be trying to go for a title this coming season. They're Manchester United, whether their ownership's up in the air or not, right? They should be. I don't see that at the moment. Now, I understand the transfer window's still open, and there's stuff that can still happen. But this number 9 situation is the most worrying thing for me at Manchester United, because they can get by with their back line. They've got the clean sheet record. They've got the golden glove, blah, blah, blah. So we know the defence is not shambolic, although it's still not strong enough in terms of strength and depth. Their midfield is not a shambles in terms of their first 11, but again, they've got troubles with their strength and depth. But I look at their attacking options at Man United, and other than Rashford, which one of them are you actually half jealous of? There's not one. I don't rate Martial. I don't think Sancho has done it at all. I don't think Anthony is anything more than a circus act, if I'm honest with you. I mean, for 100 million, the guy don't look good enough to me. And then you've got Martial, and other than, Rashford even, and other than him, it's probably Garnacho is the next one I look at and go, oh, he looks half decent. They've got nothing up top, man. Like, what's going on? I don't get this.
Yeah, well, I think there's a couple of problems. First of all, Man United last year finished third and won a trophy, yeah. The truth is, that team was not a team worthy of finishing third in many Premier League seasons. The truth is, last year, the league was poor. Other than City and Arsenal, the league was very, very poor. If you put that United team last year into, I don't know, any of the last sort of 10, 15 Premier League.
The season before, LB. If it was in the season before, they'd have been destroyed.
They probably don't finish in the top 4, you know what I mean? So I think that the problem that Ten Hag might have now is that the expectation of some fans, and like you just kind of said it then, Dan, is that, oh, we finished third last year and got a trophy. We're in the Champions League. Let's kick on and try and finish second or first. When realistically, that position last year was fake. He didn't really finish third in the sense that, like, that's not a third place team because the team is arse. Now, what I think is likely to happen, I think with the signing of Onana, which I think will go ahead, and the signing of Mount, I think that the style of play will improve, and I think you'll see Ten Hag be able to implement his tactics and philosophy a lot better, because he couldn't do that with David De Gea. As much as anyone might have wanted to say he liked him, guy couldn't kick a ball. So now what they're going to be able to do, he's going to be able to implement that style of play. So I think that when you watch United, they might be better to watch. In some games, you'll come away and they'll win 4-0, and it'll be like, that's mega. We can see the philosophy. But if they don't get this attacking situation sorted, and you're kind of right, Dan, as well, it's not just the striker, it is the wingers as well. I think that they could be in trouble because they're going to have the Champions League to deal with. I think, again, they're going to want to look at domestic trophies because I think that's really good for the camp. And I think there's a real chance that they do finish outside the top 4, because I'm looking at City, I'm looking at Arsenal, I'm looking at Liverpool and going, I think them 3 next season are pretty much guaranteed top 4. Now, there's a 5th place, right? Apparently, so they might.
Yeah, there's going to be.
But I don't think they're going to finish in the top 4, which then leaves them vulnerable. You've got Aston Villa, you've got Newcastle, you've still got Spurs. If they can keep hold of Kane, I think they've got a great chance of finishing the top 5 if they keep hold of Kane. So I think it's a weird one. I think it's the signings that they made in Mount and Onana, I think, are good signings, but there's a lot of work to be done at Old Trafford. A lot.
Can I just say something here? Glory Hunter, your name is completely right. Glory Hunter. This negative Man United out of here. This is what we talk proper football talk, my friend. Okay, everything that LB has just said there is absolutely spot on. If you think under this ownership we are getting Kane, you're an idiot. And I will say that you're an idiot, because this ownership does not back us the way it should be. This ownership goes out and buys players by name rather by ability. This ownership has done nothing but make us a laughing stock. This ownership has allowed Old Trafford to be run into the ground. This ownership has allowed our training ground to fall by the wayside. This ownership has had Jose Mourinho, who wasn't right for Manchester United, has had Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and kept him on far too long, has just bottled everything. So you sitting there and saying that this is negativity, this is realism, my friend. This is realism. Just because we got back in the Champions League last season does not mean we will do it this season. We have got a far bigger job on our hands. Ten Hag has got a far bigger job in his hands. If you think we're going to be anywhere near the Champions League at the moment, you need to wake up and open your eyes, mate, because at the moment, I'm telling you, we are in a lot of trouble. And if you can't see the fact that we're in trouble, I am worried. I am absolutely worried for you, mate. And I suggest you turn off TalkSport and start watching proper football, buddy, because you must be a TalkSport listener. Ridiculous stuff. Ridiculous.
Listen, his opinion's very different to yours, that's for sure, Dan. He
probably thinks we're winning the Premier League. This guy probably thinks that we're going to get Kane and win the Premier League. Honestly, Christ almighty.
Well, if you get Qatari ownership, that could happen. But it looks like Harry Kane is, I think, going to stay at Tottenham. I know they talk about Bayern Munich, but I don't know.
Who's got the better team, Potts? Who's got the better? If Harry Kane stays at Tottenham, who's got the better team?
I still think Man United's first 11 is better than Tottenham's. I do. I think there's a couple of players Tottenham.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't think their goal. I don't think I can look at Tottenham and go, yeah, 7 or 8 of those players are getting into Man United. I could look at Harry Kane. I could look at.
That's fair. What I would say is though, Tottenham's attack is so powerful.
Yeah.
That if
Tottenham's attack's better than United, 100%.
Yeah, if they're on form,
we need a striker.
Really matter about the rest.
Manchester United need a striker.
I'll say this, LB. If they got Harry Kane, Man United could be seriously back.
They should have gone all out, Dan. They should have gone all out for Harry Kane.
Exactly that. That's the problem. The fact that we haven't got, that we are looking at a striker, and what's the date today? The 13th of July. The fact that now we're looking for a striker when it was apparent last season our 2 strikers were Wout Weghorst and Martial, who played a third of our games, and now we're going for a striker. It's ridiculous. It's scary. It's terrifying.
Should go for Ollie Watkins, man. He's pretty decent.
But he's like, stay away.
Just quickly, sorry. Could it be a case of Man United biding their time? Because, at the beginning of the window, it's easy for Daniel Levy to go, for English clubs, we want 200 million. And then as time goes on and as no one's really triggering what he wants, all of a sudden he's thinking, well, if he doesn't go now, I'm getting nothing for him at the end of the season. Do you think that could be United kind of biding their time and then you go 5 minutes before the deadline, we'll have him for 80 million, that kind of thing?
We're not that sort of club though, Billy. United have never been the sort of club to get a deal done in 24 hours. How long was the Mount one? The Mount one went on for 3 or 4 weeks. This Onana one has been going on for 2 or 3 weeks. We're not that club that on deadline. And if this happens and I get clipped, I'm going to be fuming. But I just don't see us being the club on August the 28th going, right, Kane, you're coming. Simple as that. It's not. And Ten Hag has said several times, and this is where I feel for him. He wants to have a pre-season with the new players. He wants to be able to implement these players into a system. So the fact that United would gamble on leaving it until 2 days before the end of the window is scary. It's scary.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll make a deal with you, Dan. Will you do this? Glory Hunters come back. Will you do this? When you sign Kane, I want United fans to come on here and say he was the idiot. I am waiting. Will you get 2 pieces of bread like Gordon Ramsay does?
Glory Hunter. I'm married, mate. I get called an idiot on a daily basis. So it makes no odds. It makes no odds.
To be fair,
I tell you what. I will make that deal with you. And I don't. This is how confident I am. When he does stay at Spurs and it's the 1st of September, I expect you to come on this stream and say, Dan United is a god. Simple as that. I will do what you do if you do that for me. Simple.
To be fair, Dan, if you do sign Kane, I'd be coming on here saying all sorts, because if you get Kane, it's on, mate. That's you can come on here and say, call yourself.
But LB, do you think it will happen though? Do you want to see it?
No, not at all. And to go back to Billy's point, I think Daniel Levy would rather just lose Kane on a free next year than sell to United for 80 million towards the end of the window. Because, like I say, if Tottenham keep Kane, they have a chance of getting Champions League football next year. Simple. If they don't, and obviously, yes, they'll lose Kane at the end of the window probably, but then at least they'll be in the Champions League to attract players. Whereas if they sell Kane this summer, yes, they get 80, they get 100 mil or whatever. They're not getting Champions League. Absolutely no chance. So I just see that Kane is unsellable unless they get a crazy thing, or unless Kane decides he's going on strike, which surely he's not going to, because if he was going to do that, he would have done it when City were in for a couple of years.
The only thing I think maybe Kane, the only way I could see it may be happening with United, and this is the very, very slightest maybe, is if Munich did get a bid accepted, well, then Manchester United could throw the same bid in, and then you would expect Kane, if he really did want to go and go to Manchester United, to come out and say, well, hang on, if you've accepted that, you can accept that. But I just can't see it happening. Manchester United aren't very good negotiators. Let's be honest here. Look at how many times we've paid over the odds for players, and the fact that people think that we're just going to go out there and get Kane. We're struggling to pay 40 million to get a Nana at the moment. Do you know what I mean? Let's have a bit of perspective here.
Listen, it's going to be an interesting one, but I do think that Harry Kane is staying at Spurs. Billy, you guys have been in the media the last couple of days. Pau Torres is done. Good signing. You've also got the links with Moussa Diaby, which would be phenomenal signing for me. That's one I would love at Arsenal for some competition for Saka. And your first 11, Bill, was already pretty good. You've already mentioned Tielemans, and we had debates, didn't we, about whether he would get into the side. Pau Torres is, my opinion, getting into the side. And I saw a predicted 11 yesterday that I tried to screenshot, but it wouldn't work. I tried to send it to you, and I wanted to talk to you about it. And the 11 looks pretty good, mate. I can't lie. There was, obviously the likes of Jacob Ramsey and Ollie Watkins and some of the players you've currently got. And added to that, Pau Torres, Thiago Carlos, I think they had alongside him. Obviously, Emi Martinez, Matt Cash, Moreno, Diaby was one of the wingers, Jacob Ramsey, I believe, the other. And then I think you had the three in midfield, which didn't have John McGinn. So it did have Douglas Luiz, Kamara, and Tielemans. And then, of course, Ollie Watkins up front. And I think I remember you saying last season, when we just finished the season, and you had such a storming end, and Emery was like being bigged up, and rightly so. And you'd sort of said to me, I don't really think we need to go and get 5 or 6 sort of absolute backups that are going to come in strength. We need to try and replace the first 11 to ensure that they become the backups. I kind of think that's what Emery's trying to do in these first few signings, Bill, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I do. And it's from a Villa fan's perspective, it's really exciting. Some of the names that we've been linked with the past couple of days alone, Diaby, we've put a bid in. Apparently we've put a verbal second bid in for 47.5 million euros, apparently. Joao Felix, apparently we're the only team in for him at the minute. Brennan Johnson, we're seriously interested in him.
Good player.
Diaby, Chiesa's another one as well. We're willing to. I know, mate. Some of these names, to hear Aston Villa in the conversation for potentially being a threat to Man United or to Spurs for top 4, it just feels a little bit surreal. But
we're not going to have this like we did with Pete last season, are we? I can't take another season of this.
Not this early, anyway. Not this early. But no, to be sat here in the middle of July and for Villa really to appear to be such a well-run club behind the scenes in terms of transfers, in terms of just where we're going as a football club, it's really, really exciting. We've got new Chris Heck has come in, who's the man behind the business operations. We've got Monchi, who's the president of football operations. Unai Emery, you don't really need to say much about him. I mean, his trophy cabinet speaks for itself. What he's done as a manager kind of speaks for itself. Where we're going at the minute is just so exciting, and I just can't wait to see some of the rest of the players that we managed to get in this window. I think we're a backup goalkeeper, and if we manage to get Diaby and say Brennan Johnson or Joao Felix, either one of those, a backup goalkeeper and a new right back, I think we're a serious team next season, and we're going to be
with Unai as well, man.
Machine. Really? I genuinely believe that. I'm not going to say, sorry, Dan. I'm not going to say that we're going to go and get top 4 or anything like that, but we're going to be a serious threat, I think, to the traditional
European places
in that conversation. Yeah.
I think
Well,
that's fair. I don't even think that's unfair. Go on, Dan.
Will Cameron Archer get a chance this season? Do you think under Emery?
I think it depends on pre-season, really. I would like for him to be able to, because he's a top player. I mean, what he's done in the Championship, I think he's deserving of his opportunity. And when we've seen him in a Villa shirt previously in the League Cups, I mean, he got a hat trick, albeit against Barrow, but he was quality. I mean, one of the goals he scored against Chelsea when we took them to penalties was just a quality header. And he has got that potential and that quality, and for him to be a homegrown kid as well, big Villa fan. You know, I mean, I think we need to keep him purely because of the UEFA threshold. I think you need a certain amount of homegrown players or something. So I think we're probably going to keep him anyway. But
would you not want to get another centre forward though, Bill? Would you not want to get someone better? Like, I know,
yeah, but I think that would probably come in the form of a Felix or a Brennan Johnson who can kind of cover for Watkins if needs be. A little bit of that versatility.
If you had one of them plus Watkins and Archer, I think that's good. But if you're having
I mean, the thing is, we've got Duran as well, who we've paid 20 million for, the young Colombian kid who's very, very raw at the minute, but does have a lot of potential. I mean, he smashed the bar against Man City on one of his first games. I don't know if you remember that, LB, at your place.
Yeah, you remember the last 3 weeks of the season, mate.
You don't remember anything now. He's still in
a... Yo, Billy, can I ask you a question? Did you see the debate going on with Rory Jennings about who you'd rather have as your manager? Would you rather have Emery or would you rather have Arteta?
I think this is a bit of a silly debate, to be honest with you, because I think Emery's trophy cabinet and what he's done in football speaks for itself. And especially where, if I'm putting it into a Villa context, I would much rather have Emery, who's been there, done that, and knows what it takes, than Arteta, who's the new kid on the block. Don't get me wrong, I think Arteta has a lot of potential to go on and be a very, very successful manager. But at the minute, it's not even a conversation in my eyes.
What are your expectations for the season then, bro? Sorry.
I would like a couple of good cup runs, whether it be in the Europa Conference League, FA Cup, League Cup. Ideally, of course, see us win a bit of silverware, and just to be competing at the top of the table again. I mean, since Emery's come in, we're top 5, something like that. I think since 2023, it's we're second or something along those lines. So just to be
you're third in the league. I think it's only Arsenal and City. They're ahead of you.
Yeah, just to be in that conversation again of European football, maybe break into the Champions League. Who knows? As well as being able to juggle the balls of cup competitions as well. And of course, there's no better manager to get.
If it's top 5, Bill, you never know. We could scrape it. There's a lot of teams that could. You know, I'm not saying Villa are going to. I'm just saying that I don't think it would be silly to suggest that Villa could be flirting with Champions League football this season. I don't think that's silly.
Are you out of Europe as well? Did I read that right?
Conference League.
Are they out of it now?
No.
I thought they were looking at a ban this season. And
yes, that's Juventus.
Yeah, sorry, Juve. Who did I say?
Villa, I thought.
No, Juve.
So Juve are out of it, and they've been replaced by.
So I mean, that's a great. I mean,
on paper, the hardest team that we'd probably have to face is Eintracht Frankfurt.
Do you get a Europa League dropouts though as well, Billy?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Like you do in the Champions League.
They drop down into it.
Drop down, so you could get some Europa League.
They join in Feb, don't you?
But let's be real, they're trash.
West Ham again, probably.
They're trash, man. Yeah, West Ham Villa in the final. You and Lawless, that'd be good. I'd love to see that, and I'd love Villa to win as well. Just quickly, because I do have to go in a couple of minutes. I just want to wrap up very quickly on the Rory Jennings thing. I don't really think that. I thought that was a stupid debate. I didn't really understand what that was about. I thought that was obvious that Emery's a better manager than Arteta. Arteta's just started, and Emery's got 5 Europa Leagues, isn't he? And competed at the very top level. You can't compete with that. So I don't understand why that was even a debate, really. And it got a load of Arsenal fans for he cried about it. I didn't quite understand why. It was bizarre, but there we go.
I don't think it helps
you-
coming from Rory anyway, who's a
No, of
Chelsea
course it
fan
don't.
and
No, he
hates
knows what he's
Arsenal.
doing. Like,
you,
Rory
you would
knows
also
what he's
say though, Dan, that from an Arsenal point of view, I'd say from where you are, you'd probably want Arteta as your manager at this particular time.
Oh, yeah, there's no point changing him at the moment. Yeah. You wouldn't swap him back now. We've already had Emery. Look at that. You know, for me, Unai Emery, it was the wrong timing for him. He was never a shocking manager, though. I never wanted him gone because I thought he was awful. There was a lot going on at the back of it. He had to go in the end because it just went sour. But behind the scenes, there was Raul Sanlehi, Kira Byachkin at the time, who's Farmy. There was completely different board. He wants Zaha, we give him Pepe. He wants Thomas Partey, we give him Danny Spiles. He wants Upamecano, we give him David Luiz. This was all hell, to be honest. So for me, he did a lot of good things. You know, Saka, Martinelli, and Smith Rowe. Arteta, yeah, okay, he's doing well now, but who gave him all their debuts? Do you know what I mean? Unai Emery did. I thought he was a very, very good manager. And to be fair, I think he's proving why he is. You know, he's gone to Villarreal. He's beaten Arteta in his backyard. He's beaten Man United in the final of the Europa League. And now he's going to go and do, in my opinion, I think he'll go and win a trophy with Villa this season. And I think it'll be the Europa Conference League. I think it will.
God, I hope so.
So let's see that. Just lastly, LB, what's happening with City outgoings? Are Mahrez and Bernardo Silva staying now? I reckon they've got to, haven't they? Like, what's...
Apparently, Dele Alli in Saudi Arabia are going to make a £30 million bid for Riyad Mahrez. I would reject that. I don't think it's enough, and I think it's too important to our team right now. Bernardo Silva, he wanted to leave for 3 years. No one's ever bidded for him. For some reason, don't know why. If a bid comes in that City value at, City will let him go because we do that with all our players. If you want to leave, bring us.
What's
the
the
money.
value, LB? What's the value?
I think it's somewhere around 70 to 80 million. Which is a ridiculous price for Bernardo Silva. That's why I still don't understand how no one's ever bought him, because I think that's
a steal, isn't it, really?
It's incredible value. So, just them two. I think Walker's going to end up staying. He's been offered a 2-year contract, and apparently he was very surprised at how good the contract offer was. So I think he'll end up staying. It's not signed, though, so, who knows on that one. But, there you go.
LB, sorry, go on. Sorry.
Just quickly, what do you expect on incomings left, LB?
Yeah, so Gvardiol, I think that'll be done soon because Leipzig are now being heavily linked with their new left-sided centre-back. Laporte will leave, Gvardiol will replace him. And that's it at the moment. Other than, I think we won't sign any other player unless Bernardo Silva or Mahrez goes. We've got a lot of academy players who are like almost ready. Yeah, we've got McAtee, who was at Sheffield United last year. Very, very good player. I think Pep would love him. Apparently someone's bidded £30 million for him and City have turned it down.
Oh, wow.
Which tells you how much City rate him. We've also got Oscar Bob, Norwegian, who can play right wing.
Oscar who?
Oscar Bob, yeah, pretty mad name, isn't it? But,
is that his name?
Yeah, that's his name, yeah. But he's a very promising player. Again, Pep really rates him. And then obviously he's still got Cole Palmer, who found it really difficult last year to get into the side, who's a very hot talent. You've seen him in the Euros, do very
Rico
well.
Lewis as well.
What about Trafford as well? I mean, I was surprised you let him go. Have they put a buyback in with that?
Yeah, I mean, people are surprised that let him go, but you gotta remember, Dan, he's never played a single minute for City. We've got up to £19 million if you include the add-ons. You'll have a 20% buyback, which is what City typically do. If he goes for 30-40 million quid, you could be getting £30 million for a player that's never even played a single minute.
You've got two top keepers as well, man.
Ortega's quality. I'd love to have seen him have a chance in sort of the League Cup rounds and stuff like that.
I don't think he wanted to, though, Dan. I think he had the ambition to play first-team football, so I don't think he wanted to sit on the bench. I agree. I think it would have been cool to see him challenge Ederson, but I think his ambition, I think he just wants to go and play football, so I think that's why City decided to sell him.
He's got the right mentality as well, hasn't he? Like you listen to him in interviews, and I just thought that's a Pep player. You know, the second he opened his mouth, you thought that is a Pep player, isn't it? Gets it, wants it, understands it.
Mm-hmm. Listen, there is a rumor that in 2027 Arsenal are going to officially announce Declan Rice. It is going to be done, and when it is done, my mate texted me yesterday and said, "I want it done because I want to hear the commentator say, Jesus holding Saka White Rice." And I thought that was quite good. So there we go. Listen, it's going to be done, I'm sure. I think a lot of people are talking about Rice and Timber being announced at some point.
If it doesn't get done, though, mate, that is the most embarrassing thing. It will get done. It will get done.
He's with Bruno at the moment, isn't he? You've seen the videos with Bruno together.
It's just not even. If we don't get that over the line, it will probably be. Heads need to roll. That's for sure. Listen, Dan, plug your stuff, man. I know you've started your new channel, so go for it.
Yep. So the work has just been a nightmare, but the videos are officially coming out next Monday. I've finally got my videos. I've pre-recorded,
Nice one.
got some ready to go. So you could get that at United First on YouTube, and also you can see my handle below on my TikTok channel. Yes, LB. I'm 36 and I'm a TikToker. Deal with it.
Mate, I'm almost 29. I'm not far behind, bro. I don't know what you're saying that for.
Make sure you come and have a look, guys.
Yeah, man. Make sure you go over to United First and check out Dan's new content. Billy, likewise, what you up to?
At AV Billy on Twitter, Instagram as well, if you want to use that. Yeah, Total Screamers. We've had very busy lives this past year or so, so we've not got as much content out as what we'd have liked to have had ideally. However, things hopefully starting up for the season. So really looking forward to that. At Total Screamers Pod on Twitter. Give us a follow. Much appreciated.
Nice one, Billy. LB?
Yeah, so City Extra and my personal channel is It's LB, doing daily transfer roundups. Try to get some of the boys on. I've had Joe on. I've had
Pete?
Yeah, Pete on as well. Hopefully get Dan, Billy. I get Dan on as well. So yeah, just daily roundups, daily transfer videos, man. So yeah, that's on It's LB.
Make sure you do that, people. Make sure you smash a like on this one and make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're getting closer and closer to 11K. So make sure you can help us get to that. And we will see you next time. As always, up the Arsenal. Take care, people.